Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today is something yet again different. Life kind of gets in the way of us doing our builds, and today we're going to be doing the brakes on Dillon's daily driver, which let me turn the camera.
It's 2000 Honda Accord. I forget the exact model for it, but it is a V6. And we're going to be changing the brakes on it because it's that time again.
All right, let me flip around. And I think we've caught it soon enough. We're just going to be doing brake pads on it.
Yep. It's not low enough that it would start doing damage, which you definitely want to make sure you do this before you get to the point where you're damaging the rotors.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a four-wheel disc car. Unlike some of my other cars, the only four-wheel disc one that I own is the Corvette, which I've yet to drive. So anyway, I don't know what it's like to have that, but I do know how to change the brake pads, and we're going to be doing that. So let me turn the camera off while we get set up. We're going to be putting it up on jacks. We're going to be jacking it up and putting it on jack stands. So don't really see any reason to show that, but we'll show you the finished product. Okay, we're back again. Just to let you know, it was a little change of plans. We were going to do one end at a time, but I'll show you here what we did in just a minute after I turn the camera around and show you something. Okay, here's the engine compartment, and here is where the master cylinder is for the brake fluid, and you'll notice it's a little low. There's an indicator on the dash that'll show you when that float drops too low and you need to add brake fluid.
Now, when I started the car up on a colder morning, I noticed that my brake light stayed on even though I had taken off the parking brake. Well, after about maybe 5 minutes of driving, it went off. And so I was like, okay, well, that normally seems to happen when it's cold. My dad indicated that when it's cold, the brake fluid hasn't expanded yet. So when my engine warms up, brake fluid expands, then the brake light goes off. So you think, oh, everything's okay. But please pay attention to that, because that's indicating that the brake fluid is definitely getting low, and the brake pads need to be changed. So that would have been that only happened just a week ago. So it's a good idea, obviously. Check on that.
And something that also, this is only if you are sure there are no leaks in the system causing the brake fluid to go down. Having that, sorry, neighbors are inconsiderate and actually using the alleyway that they have a right to. Again, if the brake fluid is that low, that's a very good indicator. If there's no leaks, again, no leaks, this is really important, that your brake pads are needing to be changed. And sure as anything, that's the case here. Now, what I was wanting to show you is we were trying to do one end or the other, but it turns out that my 41-year-old jack is starting to die, and we were only able to lift it up high enough to barely get the wheel off the ground. I can't show you, maybe Dillon can. There is a jack stand there behind. Okay, so right now what we're doing is holding it up with the jack, but we have the jack stand in case the hydraulics fail. And also we are not going to be going underneath the car. So hopefully you're in a position where you can put it up on jack stands without having the soft ground that we're having to deal with in the early spring here where we're at. And I'll turn it off now. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the brake pads, and we'll give you an idea what's going on once we know. you hold that up real quick?
Yeah. This guy?
No, the... Okay, so I wanted to mention this. Notice how these are all black oxide. The socket is actually polished from years of holding it with my hand, but it is heat treated for use with an impact, as well as the adapter that we need to use for Dillon's wheels. If you're using an air impact or an electric impact, make sure that you have the oxide, make sure that you have sockets rated for impact. Anyway, a little safety tip there I thought I'd throw in. One of the things I wanted to show was we're going to do a comparison over what the brake pads were. If Dillon could do that real quick, pick up one of the old ones. And this is also, all right, let me get real close. You can see there's quite a bit of brake material on the new ones, and it gives you a good idea of where the indicator is also. So, all right, now Dillon's going to go ahead and install the new one. And it just slides in.
As long as I'm there. There we go.
Got that. Got that. Okay. Now what we're going to need to do is move the piston back. And the quick and dirty way to do that, you can buy a tool, which I have one if we need it, but usually I don't. So what we're going to do is put that on there, the old pad, for a cushion, because we don't want to go metal to metal on the brake caliper. And it takes a little bit to adjust, and you're probably going to have to readjust those jaws.
That's okay.
And each car's different, but I've mentioned this before. This is a large pair of channel locks I bought years ago, and I use them quite a bit, so it'd be a good thing to buy. But Dillon's going to take and start collapsing the piston back up into the caliper, because the new pads are going to be thicker. So, is it moving?
I don't know if I'm just feeling weak this morning.
You'll feel it if it does. Okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to use the proper tool. So I'm going to shut the camera off and get that real quick. Hi, future self here. I'm going to interrupt the video because, thanks to my inability to operate my own phone in video mode, I took a single picture of Dillon doing the caliper collapsing, or the piston collapsing in the caliper. And I'm going to try to make up for that best I can. I don't have a caliper to demonstrate with. Hopefully I can give you the idea though. I was going to put this in the description. I'll name it verbally. This tool is called the brand name is Bet Tool or B Tool. Bet Tool is what I'm going to say. The part number is BET-HW0037, and it's actually worked very well for me. It just says caliper tool set. Anyway, all right, we're going to start with this, and I'll show you how to assemble it. Then you need to use this, and unfortunately I can't show you, but what happens is it will press against the caliper, and this part will press against the piston. And you'll use, in this case we used this piece for the Honda, but what Dillon did was, doesn't matter in this case. But what Dillon did was screwed it in and it collapses the caliper. It collapses the piston. I'm sorry, this is late at night when I'm doing this. It collapses the piston into the caliper to where you can then have the clearance to put the brand new pads and now collapsed caliper back together. But this one, because, and I'll show you a little bit better, all it does is it presses against the piston without harming it, and you'll need to do the correct size. There's many adapters, and we also show this one. This one was used for the rear, and you could see the 4 nipples that I was talking about. You'll know what I'm talking about when the time comes. And that was for the rear caliper. So I apologize. I'm doing my best to try to make up for it. And I realize this is a poor demonstration because I don't have a caliper to demonstrate with. Hopefully with the rest of the video you can put things together, and I will do my best to learn how to operate my own camera. Anyway, back to the video with Dillon and I. Okay, after doing an internet search, doesn't seem to be a torque value for this, which I'm really surprised. So we're going to go ahead and do what I've always done, because I used to have a lot of different cars come into my bay. So, all right, so what Dillon's going to do is demonstrate. We found putting this back together, you need to have a 19 millimeter on the back side that the brake pin screws into. But once you get it snugged down, then you can take that off, and what you do is you tap that down. Yeah, you're gonna need to hold it. And you want to do about 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn from snug.
Doesn't feel like it wants to go any further.
All right, hit it one more time because it's brakes and it's safety. Okay. All right, and notice Dillon is using the closed end of the wrench. If at all possible, when you're doing fasteners, use the closed end. It's a lot safer, and it might save your knuckles one day. So we're going to do the bottom, and Dillon should have a little more practice on that.
Okay.
All right. And if you can find a torque value for these, please let us know in the comments, because that'd be good information to have. But the internet search that I did didn't show one. I'm very surprised. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off now, because all we need to do is put the wheel back on. And we're not going to film the other side, because it's just going to be a repeat of this, unless we come across something that is different and you ought to know about.
Okay.
All right, we are on the rear. The front on the other side went without a hitch, and what we run into on the rear, which I've never done a Honda, but I've run into it on other vehicles, the rear caliper is also hooked into your parking brake. So you've got a combination of mechanical and hydraulic on the rear caliper. And what that means is you need to collapse the caliper different on the rear, because there's actually like a best way to explain it is there's like a large screw or bolt on the back of that caliper that when you actuate the brakes with the parking brake handle, it presses that mechanically and locks your brakes in. Well, you've got to have a way of adjusting it, because as your brakes wear, it needs to travel further and further, and eventually it'll make it to where it doesn't work. So the adjustment is this screw unscrews as it finds that the pads wear. That's a very simplified way of doing it, but it works for what we need to do right now. So the tool that I showed you before that we needed to collapse the caliper with is imperative to have now. And I will tell you that I bought it from the Jungle website, but just go ahead and do a search. Maybe you could find it cheaper, maybe you can get it local. Anyway, that's what I had to do. So in this case, I don't know if we can see the 4 raised nipples, insert joke here, and they match up to the crosshatch in there. Sometimes you'll find that there's just one slot. In this case, there's more than one, and thankfully we have the right adapter. And on this particular car, as you're screwing it in, it goes clockwise. So we've got this adapter set up to the tool that I have has 2 adapters for collapsing the caliper. One of them that's for doing the regular. Where's the handle at? The handle.
The handle. Well, that's over in another spot.
All right, anyway, it looks exactly like this, but it's left-hand thread. And that works for some calipers. When you're collapsing the front ones, it really doesn't matter. You don't need to turn it. But in this case, that's why we have the threads set up the way we do. These are right-hand threads. And as we're turning the caliper in, it'll collapse. So we'll try to set that up real quick, and hopefully it'll go without a hitch.
Have to feel about there.
And you should know within a couple of turns if it's okay. That's loosening. You don't want to do that. You want to tighten.
Yeah. Well, shoot. Having a little technical difficulties.
Okay.
Slowly but surely.
Is the piston turning as you're doing this?
Yes.
Okay, that's the main thing you need to make sure of. And it will get easier, but the initial one, yeah.
Just loosen that just a little bit.
Okay, you want to, no, don't tighten that, loosen it. Because you want it to snug it up against the piston.
Yep. There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Did it turn?
It's turning now.
Okay.
Just make sure it's for sure going in. At least we don't have to film me struggling on the other side. You guys get to watch just this one.
And Dillon's also doing a very good job of making sure the hose isn't stressed.
Because as noted on the other one, you do the same thing for this side.
Okay. It's turning, and rather than show Dillon's struggle, you can imagine what it takes, because we're about halfway there. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. Okay, this is the last wheel, and I'm having Dillon do one last check. We're going to make sure that the slop is taken up, because when you collapse the piston, it leaves a little bit of a gap, which you need to be able to put it back on. But I'm going to have him actuate the handbrake, and it'll probably act like nothing's going on, and he might have to cycle it a few times. So go ahead and start that, Dillon. Do it again. How does it feel?
Still kind of loose, but I think I'm feeling a little bit more.
Okay, keep going.
Pressure as I do this.
Okay, that's definitely good, because the caliper is locked up. Go ahead and take it off now.
No, I took it off.
Okay. All right, go ahead and put it on.
Okay.
All right, that's good. All right, take it off.
But Dad, don't we want to put grease on the brake pad so it moves better?
Yes, we do. All right, had to break it loose. All right, sharp-eyed people will notice that there's a broken stud. Not our fault. We found that the tire shop had done that.
Won't mention which tire shop. Don't want to shame any company
But,
for one individual's mess up.
Yeah, so at a later date, we're going to be replacing that. Anyway, that'll be a different video, but we have noted it. Dillon unfortunately needs to get to work, so we can't take care of it right now. And we're going to stop here, and then I'll show Dillon torquing the wheel down, because that's important also. All right, one of the things I did want to show is it is important to torque the wheels down evenly. And again, good excuse to buy a tool, torque wrench. And this vehicle, we happened to set it at 75, and I found that works for most cars, but look it up. I do know there is a torque value, unlike the calipers. We didn't have any real problems on this side, so that's why I didn't film it. It was just a duplicate of the other side. All right, now Dillon's going to start the car up. Okay, what we're doing now is Dillon's going to start the vehicle, and then he's going to push the pedal to the floor. He probably won't feel any resistance, so cycle it a few times. You should start feeling the pedal come up.
Start to feel it.
And any brake lights on, anything like that?
No, I do not see that brake light that I was seeing before when about
Okay.
a week ago.
Go ahead and pull your parking brake up just to make sure it does work.
It says brake on it. So
Okay, take it off. And then we're going to check the brake fluid level. So Dillon, go ahead and get out and do that.
Okay.
And the cap is loose.
And I can see the fluid level.
All right, and it actually is a little bit low. I'm going to go ahead and top it up, but we are good to go. This is done, and I hope this helped you. We had a great time bonding, and Dillon did learn a few things, which I'm always happy to teach.
Yeah.
Anyway, later on we're going to be doing a video about changing that stud out, and possibly another one. But hopefully this helps somebody. Please like, share, subscribe. Like I always say, smoke signals, telegraph, drums. Tell anybody you can, please. It really helps us out.
Yeah.
And I hope you're all having a good day, and we will see you later. Bye.